A very good morning and a warm welcome to all the dear learners who have joined here today. I'm Dr. Ria Chukral from the Homeopathic Academy, and we are here today to discuss a very interesting and necessary topic, according to me. That's the protocol for homeopathic management of COVID-19 with Dr. Harsh Nigam. We have Dr. Harsh Nigam live with us right now, as you can see. But before we go ahead with this webinar, as it is customary, I have to tell you about the Homeopathic Academy and Dr. Harsh Nigam's course with us. So let me quickly introduce ourselves. So here goes. The Homeopathic Academy, or THA as we call it, is BGen's efforts towards digitalizing homeopathy and providing a platform for quality education online. THA offers you a range of online courses by well-known academicians on numerous subjects of homeopathy at undergraduate, postgraduate, UPSC, and CME levels. All these courses are enriched with state-of-the-art audio-video technology and text and vector animations, giving you an HD quality audio and video experience made by a dynamic team of qualified doctors, video editors, and many more professionals. These courses will perfectly complement your studies to make learning an extraordinary experience. On your screens, you can see some of our courses currently streaming on our website, www.thehomeopathicacademy.com. You can also see the course on Modus Foundation and Modus Prescriber by Dr. Harsh Nigam. Here, Dr. Nigam will teach us how to adapt the concepts of organon in modern clinical scenario and improve our clinical practice, an essential need for all us modern homeopaths. So these are the courses that we have available. We also have UPSC preparation courses, one of which is Homeopathic Materia Medica with Competitive Approach. It is available for pre-booking now, and already launched courses include Anatomy and Physiology, Comparative Homeopathic Psychology by Dr. Bailey, Dr. Frederick's course on 4 ways to rejuvenate your practice, Dr. Banerjee's course on rapid classical miasmatic prescribing. That's forensic medicine and toxicology for UPSC preparation again, and more and more. Sorry for the interruption, some internet issue from my side. So yeah, I was saying that this is the Dr. Harsh Nigam's course on Modus Foundation and Modus Prescriber. You can learn how to integrate homeopathy with modern clinical scenario. It is currently streaming on our website. You can absolutely visit us and go through it. So these are some of the courses, just a quick glimpse of these for you until we get our audience ready. So that's about THA. Thank you so much for listening. Yeah, coming back to this webinar, let me introduce Dr. Harsh Nigam to you all in case you have come here to learn from him for the first time. So Dr. Harsh Nigam, about him a little. So Dr. Harsh Nigam is a renowned practitioner and an author of 8 books on homeopathy and 12 research papers published in various Indian journals. Despite having obtained MBBS and MD in physiology, he could not suppress the heritage of homeopathy that he received from his father, Dr. Jagdish Chandra Nigam. He has obtained his membership or faculty from the Royal London Homeopathic Hospital, UK. He is currently spearheading a multi-speciality OPD hospital at Kanpur. It is a center of excellence in medical homeopathy. He focuses on research-based medical solutions to various health issues. He aims to establish homeopathy on its scientific merit and to make it integrated with orthodox medicine in such a way that the scope and limitation of homeopathy are well defined. His ambition to educate young homeopaths has led him to write 8 books on homeopathy. 2 of those internationally recognized books are on your screens right now. That's The Principle and Practice of Homeopathic Case Management and Miasma, A Road Less Traveled. He's also a nominated member of editorial board of Indian Journal of Homeopathy, and he's an ex-member for Special Committee of Clinical Research at the Central Council for Research in Homeopathy. So that is why we are so blessed to have him here with us to actually talk on COVID-19, a research-based, a research work of his on COVID-19 he'll be talking on. So really we are extremely grateful. So, sir, please come live with us so that we can start learning.
Hi, good morning, Dr. Ria.
Good morning, sir. Thank you so much for being here with us. And before I hand over to you and we start learning, quickly explaining our learners how to work with this interface. So on the right-hand side panel of your screens, you have a short chat box. You may type your questions or whatever message you have for Dr. Nigam right there and press the button next to it to send it to us. I request you all to send your questions only after Dr. Nigam's lecture is over, as that might disturb him. So without wasting any more time, let's start learning. Over to you, sir.
So, good morning, everybody. And today we are going to talk about management protocols for homeopathy. Now, this has been my wish and my life's ambition to provide protocols to upcoming generation of homeopaths so that you can work upon certain research-based uh, lines so that you may get predictable results. Now, these protocols that I have developed are based on a research of about 156 COVID patients. And you would see and you would find they are very helpful, these protocols, for your normal clinical practice. So, Dr. Dia, can you put the slides up, please? Thank you very much. So, let's start with our presentation. Quickly recapping what 2019 nCoV is. Coronaviruses are RNA viruses, as you all know. Although most human coronavirus infections are mild, the epidemics of two beta coronaviruses have high mortality. SARS-CoV had a mortality of 10%, MERS-CoV had a mortality of 35%. In comparison of these two, coronavirus 2019 nCoV virus or COVID-19 virus has a low mortality. Over the span of now about 1 year, the mortality has come to be about 5% worldwide. In December 29, though, a series of pneumonia cases of unknown cause emerged in Wuhan. Deep sequencing analysis from lower respiratory tract sample indicated a novel coronavirus. This was named 2019 novel coronavirus 2019 nCoV. Although today we call this COVID-19 virus simply because this has come to be a common nomenclature nowadays. Now, these findings by January 2 to 2020, we saw this was the first research that came out from Wuhan. 41 admitted hospital patients had been identified as having laboratory confirmed 2019 nCoV infection. Now, common symptoms at onset of illness were 98% had fever, 76% had cough, myalgia and fatigue were present in 44%. Less common symptoms were sputum in 28%, headache 8%, hemoptysis 5%, diarrhea 3%, while dyspnea developed in 55% cases. Lymphopenia in 63% cases. This is very important. Most of the viral infection cause lymphocytosis. And this lymphopenia was present in COVID-19. So in your normal CBC, if a person has fever and you are suspecting a viral fever and you see lymphopenia, you must doubt COVID infection. Now, in all these patients who were admitted in the hospitals, all these 41 admitted patients had pneumonia in CT. It was later found out that this CT presentation of pneumonia is actually diagnostic, and it was called as GGOs, ground glass opacity, which was first present on the periphery. I'll show it to you later in my case. Now, COVID-19 complication included acute respiratory distress syndrome in 29% of cases, anemia in 19% of cases, acute cardiac injury in 12% of cases, secondary infection, that is septicemia, in 10% cases. ICU admission was needed in 33% of cases. Patients with severe illness developed ARDS and required ICU admission and oxygen therapy. Now, patients with comorbidity, especially diabetes, also COPD, also hypertension, and age above 55 are at a special risk of developing severe illness. So these patients are especially to be looked on and taken care of if they develop COVID-19. Now the time between hospital admission and ARDS is as short as 2 days. Now why these statistics are important? They are important because you must understand what you are dealing with. And you must understand the epidemiology of corona because so that you can know what are the general symptoms and what are the particular symptoms. In homeopathy, while you are prescribing homeopathic medicine, while you are searching for the similia, you would have to know the general symptoms so that you can realize what the particular symptoms are. Now, initially, the mortality rate was 15% when the virus was new. And slowly, as the pandemic spread, the mortality rate came down. And you will be surprised and happy to know that amongst all the nations in the world, India has the lowest mortality rate. Now, this has been a surprise because we have the maximum number of cases in the world right now, but the mortality rate is the lowest. There are several factors. One of the factors is early lockdown that we had. The other factor is probably low reporting or false reporting. But what I feel the major factor is the use of alternative system of medicine in India. Because Indians believe in the alternative system of medicine, and most of them have been using some kind of Ayurvedic or homeopathic treatment. That is why the mortality rate in India has been so low. The number of deaths was rising quickly. It is high, but this is so because this coronavirus, this COVID-19 has acquired the ability of efficient human transmission. So airborne precautions like fit tested N95, respiratory mask, personal protective equipment are strongly recommended. What is more important is hand sanitization and social distancing. Testing of respiratory specimens should be done immediately once a diagnosis is suspected. Nowadays, you must immediately go in for rapid antigen test so that you may get a diagnosis immediately. And along with that, send a sample for RT-PCR so that you get a double diagnosis done. Now, how would we manage a case of COVID-19? There are certain steps. Number one, a patient informs you that he has symptoms. Now, the core symptoms of COVID-19 are fever, myalgia, and fatigue, dry cough, or some kind of inflammation in the throat. Now, these are three core symptoms. Then the striking peculiar symptoms are loss of uh, taste and loss of smell. Now, if you have these symptoms, you must immediately be aware that the patient has likelihood of COVID-19. That is point number A, the likelihood of COVID-19. Then once you have a patient with a likelihood of COVID-19, you are to follow certain steps. Then B, you would have to define disease severity. Then C, you have to give certain advice to the patient and to the family. Then D, you must know, you must have a common group of remedies to choose from. Remember, we are going to give you 10 common group of remedies, common remedies to choose from. But that doesn't mean that you cannot use any other remedy. You can use any remedy from the Materia Medica, provided it comes up in your repertory work. Then, certain advice for the homeopath. And lastly, the follow-up. Now, in these headings, we are going to study in stepwise fashion what is to be done when somebody presents to you with a likelihood of COVID-19. And in the end, I'm going to give you a flow chart on how to manage different scenarios of disease severity. That would be mild cases, how to manage mild cases, how to manage moderate to severe cases, and how to manage severe to critical cases. And at last, we'll show you certain cases so that you have the confidence to treat such cases. Now, once you have a patient who has a likelihood of COVID-19, you have to do an initial screening. Now, initial screening is best when you do it in a general way via telemedicine. You prefer to do the initial screening via telemedicine. But if the patient lands up in your OPD, then you do it in the OPD in a triage area. You gather symptom and signs. On the other hand, if you are screening the patients, you do the screening in the pattern of a form, and in the form you give a score to the patient. We are going to talk about that. If the score of that form is more than 5, you assume the patient to have COVID-19. So if you assume that the patient is having COVID-19, then what do you do? Then you do three things. Then you take a chart, a repertory sheet. Now I'll give you that repertory sheet. You first ask the patient, do you have fever with chill? Do you have fever without chill? There might be a case where there would be no fever at all. In that case, from the repertory sheet, you just remove the rubric of fever and only keep a rubric called as zymotic fever. We are going to talk about that too. Then you do other clinical, you add other clinical factors. You do an examination, that too a limited examination. Then you look for potential risk factors, and then you order lab testing. You do an immediate lab test and you order other lab test. So in the next slide, we are going to talk about the likelihood of COVID-19 scenario. Now, once you are doing initial screening, and you must remember, you have to keep yourself safe. And to keep yourself safe, what you would have to do is that you would have to do a telemedicine assessment. Whenever possible, undertake initial assessment by phone or by video conferencing. This is preferred as it provides additional cues. Video conferencing is preferred because it provides additional cues and therapeutic presence and may prevent the need for an inpatient visit. If you are doing assessment in person, if a person lands up to your clinic, make a triage area, a separate area where you can do the screening away from other patients. Look for symptoms and signs. Ask for the following things which are very important. Ask for the date of onset of symptoms. Ask for the core symptoms like fever, shortness of breath, dry cough, muscle aches, and tiredness. Ask for other symptoms like sore throat, headaches, runny nose, diarrhea, and nausea. Key symptoms are loss of smell and loss of taste. On the other hand, on the left side of your screen, you would see that there is a screening criteria and score form. Now you would see there are 10 criteria and there are points against it. Now if the patient comes with cough, 2 points, with diarrhea, 1 point, sore throat, 1 point, body pain, lethargy, 2 points, temperature more than 100 degrees Fahrenheit, 1 point, difficulty in breathing, 2 points, travel history during last 14 days, 3 points, direct contact or taking care of COVID-19 patient, 3 points, contact with any person who has recently come from an area of COVID-19 patients that is red zone, 2 points, attended any conference, meeting, marriage, puja or namaz, 2 points. Now you tick the relevant criteria, make a sum. If the score result is more than 5, then further evaluation is necessary in such a case. Now, what is to be done in such a case where likelihood of COVID-19 is plausible? First thing, you do a format-based history taking. Now, this format-based history taking, you already prepare a format. This is important. It would cut short your history taking time. Now, date of onset of symptom you must write down in your history sheet. When the patient had first symptom, that is the date of the onset of the symptom. But day 1 is the day when the patient came to you. Take them as COVID probable. Now divide these patients into 2, asking them whether they have fever with chill or fever without chill. I'll show you in the next slide, in next 2 slides, the repertory sheet or the format of the history. Then you must know the other clinical factors. Then you must order laboratory testing. Now, in case of fever with chill, now this is a sheet that we have prepared in our hospital. Now there are 40 symptoms that we have taken. Number 1, fever, zymotic fever. Now this is very important. You must know that COVID-19 is a zymotic fever. Go to internet, go to Wikipedia and check what zymotic fevers are. And you have a rubric in your synthesis by the name of zymotic fever. So even if the patient is not having fever, zymotic fever remains in your repertory sheet. Then fever chill with, then third chill, chill in general, then head pain, chill during, head heaviness, eye pain, eyes inflammation, conjunctiva, throat inflammation, cough dry, cough loose, nose coryza discharge with, nose coryza discharge without, nose obstruction, chest inflammation, lungs, respiration difficult, cough with, respiration rattling, mouth taste diminished, mouth taste wanting, loss of taste, nose smell diminished, nose smell wanting, extremities pain chill during, extremities pain leg fever with, mouth dryness, mouth thirstless, stomach thirst small quantities for, stomach thirst large quantities for, rectum diarrhea, stool thin, rectum constipation, stool hard, sleeplessness, chill during, sleepiness, chill with, general weakness, fever, chill during. Then 36 to 40 is empty. Why this is empty? These four features are empty because here you can take striking mental generals, striking physical general, and striking particular symptoms of the individual patient. Now you see all the symptoms that are relevant, you take, other you delete, and you do the repertory work, you will get the medicine for fever with chill for this individual COVID probable patient. Similarly, you do with fever without chill, that is fever with heat. Again, you have the whole 40 symptoms that you have in your format, and you choose the symptoms that are present in your case, and in the last four empty boxes, you take the particular, the individualizing symptoms of the case. It can be more than 40, but only take those cases which are striking, peculiar, particular, uncommon symptoms, and which are apparent, which are fundamental shift suddenly after having COVID. And thus, you can repertorize the case fast and you would get the remedy fast. Then, other clinical factors that you must know. You must examine, undertake an in-person assessment as per other clinical factors, and in addition, check temperature, pulse, respiratory rate, and effort, the degree of cough, and the presence of sore throat. The degree of cough and the type of cough, because the type of cough is very important in homeopathy, whether it is barking, hacking, whether it is rattling cough. Assess oxygen saturation, that is SpO2, and if normal, consider repeating after gentle exercise, that is walking around the clinic. The potential risk factor for more severe illness you must know, and you must also write it down on your history sheet, that is old age, that is age above 55 years. History of smoking, comorbidities, you must always write in your history sheet, lung disease including COPD, asthma, bronchiectasis, cardiovascular disease including hypertension, immunocompromised state, example diabetes, chronic kidney disease, liver disease, or if the patient is taking chemotherapy, steroids, or other immunosuppressants. Then you must note symptom severity. Assess the degree of breathlessness by asking the person to describe their presenting problem in their own words while assessing the ease and comfort of their speech, the impact of their symptom on their usual daily activities, focus on any changes in breathing from normal, such as new audible wheeze. Be aware of differential diagnosis. Serious differential diagnosis include bacterial pneumonia, meningitis, and sepsis. Influenza is more likely to produce body aches, whilst COVID-19 is more likely to produce shortness of breath. In influenza, you would also find a lot of runny nose and sneezing, while in COVID-19, you are going to find more of dry cough and inflammation of throat along with breathlessness or shortness of breath. Now defining disease severity, but before defining disease severity, I would also like to tell you about the investigations that you must order in the first uh, visit of the patient, of the COVID probable patient. Now, there are two kinds of investigations. Immediate investigations are rapid antigen test, which is going to tell you stat with a fair degree of confidence level of 60% that the patient is having COVID or not. Then, at the same time, order for a RT-PCR test, which to the tune of which is a gold standard in diagnosing COVID-19, but it is also not fully um, specific. It has a specificity of 80 to 90%. The most specific test as of now for COVID-19 is CT scan. A presence of ground glass opacity GGO in CT scan is diagnostic of COVID-19. So even if RT-PCR is negative and you have symptoms which are like COVID-19, you must repeat RT-PCR after 3 or 5 days. You may be surprised. Other investigations which are required are CBC and ESR, complete blood count with ESR, HbA1c, IL-6 that is interleukin 6, CRP, LDH, D-dimer and PCT. Now these are predictive tests, especially in patients with comorbidity and old age. You have to get these tests done. You have a fair, you can predict very fairly that what might happen to this patient. Now coming to the definition of disease severity. You are to define the patient in 3 categories: mild, moderate, and severe. Now, mild illness is adults not presenting any clinical features suggesting of moderate or severe disease or a complicated course of illness. The characteristics are either no symptoms or mild upper respiratory tract symptoms or cough or recent myalgia or asthenia without any shortness of breath or reduction in oxygen saturation. There might be low grade fever, but fever never crosses 100 °F. Moderate illness. Stable adult patients presenting with respiratory or systemic symptoms or signs. Able to maintain oxygen saturation above 92% for normal person, and person with chronic lung disease above 90%. The characteristics are prostration, severe asthenia, fever more than 100 °F, or persistent dry cough. In 28% cases, it might be loose productive cough. Clinical or radiological signs of lung involvement. No clinical or laboratory indication of clinical severity or respiratory impairment. Severe illness. Adult patients meeting any of the following criteria are labeled as severely ill COVID-19 patient, where respiratory rate is more than 30 breaths per minute and SpO2 is less than 92% in a resting state. Now, how to do a follow-up in such a case? You must tell the attendant to do SpO2 regularly, daily, 4-hourly, check pulse rate 4-hourly and record it, check temperature 4-hourly. And the doctor must do a follow-up on day 1, that is the day the patient presents to you, day 3, day 5, day 7, and day 40. Now, what is the advice that is to be given to the patient? The advice is 15 days of quarantine and isolation for the patient, vitamin C and zinc supplement once a day after breakfast, steam and gargle 3 times a day, get the patient to buy pulse oximeter, check oxygen 4 times a day, that is on waking up, 12 p.m., 4 p.m., and at bedtime. Buy an oral thermometer. My experience is that the digital thermometer doesn't give you a fair reading. So I would suggest individual oral thermometer, buy an individual oral thermometer and check temperature again 4 times a day on waking, 12 p.m., 4 p.m. and at bedtime. No visitors are allowed and complete sanitation to be maintained. Advice to the family. Rapid antigen test of the whole family must be done and if possible RT-PCR of the whole family. Preventive dose should be given to the whole family and this preventive dose should be homeopathic. You may choose phosphorus 12 every 2 hourly to the family or arsenic album 30 every 2 hourly to the family. For me, phosphorus 12 and arsenic album 30 are the only two preventives that I have found to be effective. Phosphorus 12 when the patient is thirsty and arsenic album 30 when the patient is thirstless or having thirst for small amount of water. Now, what about the dose of the preventive? If the patient is less than, if the family member is less than 15 years, 5 pills or 5 drops. If age group is between 15 and 50, then 10 pills or 10 drops. If more than 50 years, 15 pills or 15 drops twice a day, every 2 hourly. Otherwise, if there is no patient in the family, then twice a day. Now, certain advice to the homeopathic doctor. Remember the epidemiology of the prevailing epidemic in the case. Then only you can look for the particular symptom in the individual case and add to the common symptom. Repertorize each case and select the medicine. Prefer prescribing single medicine in mild cases. In case of moderate and severe case, layered prescribing works better as per our experience. Your experience might differ. Please investigate all cases, keep a proper record so that you can prove to the coming generations that homeopathy works and works wonders. Follow up on the following days. Follow up on day 1, day 2, day 5, day 9, day 15. This is the best way of following up. Now, investigation. Day 1, as I've already told you, if any of these 3 tests are positive or increased, CRP, IL-6 and LDH, Then repeat test as per your wisdom. And I would say repeat test uh, on ninth day, repeat COVID rapid antigen test. You would be surprised to see that in most of the cases, by ninth day, COVID rapid antigen test would become negative. And on day 15, go in for a COVID antibody test to see whether the patient has developed antibodies against corona or not. Now, coming to the epidemiology in Kanpur, by default, you can say epidemiology in India. In the beginning, we talked about the epidemiology in Wuhan. Now, after analysis of first 50 cases that presented to us via telemedicine at Dr. Nigam's Homeopathic Healthcare, we gathered the following stats for COVID-19 epidemic prevalent in Kanpur. Now, common symptoms at onset of illness were fever in 96% of cases. Now, if we break up these cases, 58% of cases had fever with heat and 38% of cases had fever with chill. Weakness and fatigue was present in 58% of cases. Dryness of mouth was present in 56% of cases. Cough, dry with fever was present in 54% of cases. Thirst present in 52% of cases, while 50% of cases have myalgia, whole body ache. But there was a striking singular peculiar symptom of this epidemic. In 38% of cases, there was pain in leg fever during. And you find, if you check out the repertory, you find Rustox to be a first grade remedy for this symptom. So in many cases, Rustox came to us as a genus epidemicus in the first wave of coronavirus in Kanpur. Less common symptoms are headache in 48%, nose smell diminished or wanting in 48% cases, inflammation of throat in 46% of cases, diarrhea in 30% of cases. Other symptoms that were found were mouth taste wanting 28% cases, thirstless 26% of cases, thirst for small quantities of water 24% of cases, sleeplessness 28%, sleepiness 28%. Now, when we repertorized all this with thorough repertory work, according to Kent's plan of putting the epidemic of COVID-19 on paper, we have come to the conclusion for a group of 8 remedies for COVID fever with heat. And they are Bryonia, arsenic album, pulsatilla, sulfur, lycopodium, rustox, apis, and carboveg. Group of 8 remedies for COVID fever with chill: arsenic album, phosphorus, pulsatilla, lycopodium, bryonia, rustox, sulfur, and carboveg. Now the difference between the two is that apis is absent in fever with chill, while phosphorus is absent in fever with heat. Otherwise, all the remedies are same. So, in the end, I would recommend at least 10 remedies for bedside prescription of COVID-19, and they would be arsenic album, bryonia, pulsatilla, rustox, carboveg, lycopodium, apis, phosphorus, lobelia, and china. They must be on your tips if you want to rapidly prescribe for COVID-19. Not to say that other remedies are not going to fit in. They can fit in if you can get them on your repertory work. Now, General advice. WHO has developed guidelines for home care and healthcare settings on infection prevention and control. These are called as IPC, Infection Prevention and Control, IPC strategies. And we know them all. They are wearing medical masks. Then WHO has already made us aware that wearing medical masks when not indicated burdens and creates a false sense of security that can lead to neglecting other essential measures such as hand hygiene practices. Furthermore, using a mask incorrectly may hamper its effectiveness to reduce the risk of transmission. So this is very important. Individuals without respiratory symptoms should avoid agglomerations and frequently visiting close crowded places like puja, like namaz, where many people are doing puja and namaz, like this is marriage season, marriage parties, and even if you are forced to go to such places, maintain distance of at least 1 meter from any individual with COVID-19 respiratory symptoms or otherwise also. Perform hand hygiene frequently, use alcohol-based hand rubs, even if hands are not visibly soiled with soap and water. And it is essential to use soap and water when hands are visibly soiled. If coughing and sneezing, cover nose and mouth with flexed elbow or paper tissue, and then dispose the tissue immediately after using and perform hand hygiene. Refrain from touching mouth and nose. Now, this is a very common thing that we Indians do. We keep on digging our nose and keep on touching either our mouth or eyes. Refrain it from doing. Individual without respiratory symptoms should also use masks with best practices. They should wear, remove, and dispose them, and use hand hygiene after removing the mask. Now, individuals with respiratory symptoms should wear a medical mask and seek medical care if experiencing fever, cough, and difficulty in breathing as soon as possible. Follow advice regarding appropriate mask management. Home care. Most Indian state government and legislative bodies allow home care isolation in suspected and mild cases of COVID-19 infection using isolation precautions. But there is a warning: COVID-19 infection presenting with moderate to severe symptoms should be managed by either government bodies or in the hospital. Now coming to the protocols and the flowcharts. Management of adults with mild COVID-19 infection. Managing the risk of infection. Who should manage the risk of infection? We should, as doctors. We must follow the national advice for use of PPE in non-inpatient healthcare, like our clinics. Setting during the COVID-19 outbreak, we must wear a PPE kit, we must have a mask sheet, we must have a facial mask. Manage any person clinically and epidemiologically assessed as being a suspected case of COVID-19 as if they are confirmed case. This is very important. Until they have a negative RT-PCR test done while symptomatic or till the symptoms have resolved. Now, baseline assessment for COVID-19. Check status of oronasopharyngeal swab result, that is rapid antigen test. If rapid antigen test is positive in patients with comorbidities or age more than 55 or 60 years, then get the following tests done: HbA1c, CBC-ESR, CRP, IL-6, LDH, D-dimer, PCT. Now, what is the relevance of all this? If HbA1c is increased and the patient is diabetic, advise the patient to have strict diabetic control either by allopathic medicines or by your homeopathy. In CBC-ESR, you must check what is the status of ESR, so that you must get to know the level of inflammation that is going on inside. Also check the platelet count. so that you may know that the platelet counts are not low, which may lead to internal hemorrhage, which may lead to DIC. If CRP is increased, you know that inflammation is of a high degree. If interleukin 6 is increased, if it is more than 7, you know that the patient is responding with very high inflammation. And if IL-6 is more than 50, he may lead or end into cytokine storm. If LDH is increased, again, he may lead to acidosis. And if D-dimer is increased, again, the chances of cytokine storm and septicemia, cytokine storm is increased, and the chances of DIC is increased. If PCT is increased, then chances of septicemia is high. So this is baseline assessment. Then next, things to watch out for. Advise the person with COVID-19 and their family members to look out for the development for new or worsening symptoms, especially breathing difficulties, which may indicate the development of pneumonia or hypoxemia. Reassure the person that 4 out of 5 people with COVID-19 will have a mild illness and will usually recover within 2 to 3 weeks after the initial onset of symptoms. If respiratory symptoms do worsen, this is most likely to occur on the 5th day or 3rd week of illness. Mark my word, the 5th day is the most important day. 5th day from the onset of the symptom is the most important day. On the 5th day, you must, if possible, and if the patient is having SpO2 near about 92%, get a CT done. And if everything has been all right, and on the 3rd week, the patient relapses, get an immediate CT done so that you may get to know that there is something wrong or a late pneumonia has developed. For some patients, symptoms may persist for longer than 4 weeks or no symptoms may develop. This is especially seen in patients who have comorbidities or whose age is, say, more than 60. The range of potential long-term symptoms of COVID-19 is yet unknown because COVID-19 is a recent phenomenon. Then ask the patient's family to monitor SpO2 4-hourly, notify you if SpO2 is less than 92%, monitor temperature 4-hourly, repeat on day 5 CRP, IL-6 and LDH. If CRP, IL-6 and LDH are increasing, brace yourself for upcoming cytokine storm and take this case as a moderate to severe COVID-19 infection, and you have to escalate the case. Clinician guided pulse oximetry may help with detection of lower than expected oxygen levels and early detection of deterioration. Now the treatment part of mild COVID-19. Manage mild COVID-19 in a similar way to seasonal flu and advise patient to rest, have plenty of water, and give homeopathic treatment, which is a treatment of choice. Do proper repertory work, select a single medicine, repeat the medicine frequently in a higher potency. Advise paracetamol 650 SOS if temperature is more than 100 degree Fahrenheit. Otherwise, no paracetamol is required. Especially you can see an antipyretic is generally not required for mild COVID-19, but a paracetamol or ibuprofen is appropriate and can be considered for symptomatic relief. Now, there are certain disease modifying treatments which are now being given by allopathic doctors without thinking, like antibiotics, HCQS, that is hydroxychloroquine, and steroids. Now see what the general say. Do not prescribe antibiotics for mild COVID-19 unless indicated for other reasons such as community-acquired pneumonia. For HCQS, do not use HCQS for the treatment of COVID-19. For steroids, do not initiate dexamethasone or other corticosteroid for the treatment of mild COVID-19. And I have seen cases uh, gone wrong and COVID-19 being prolonged and pneumonia being precipitated because of use of steroids, HCQS, and antibiotics when it was not required. Next steps in care. Now, suppose the patient deteriorates, then you need escalation of care and you need the patient to be transferred to hospital. Now, transfer the person to hospital if they develop symptoms or signs suggestive of moderate to severe COVID-19, such as, now these signs are severe shortness of breath or difficulty in breathing, blue lips or face, which is indicative of cyanosis, pain or pressure in the chest, cold, clammy or pale or mottled skin, recent confusion or fainting spells, becoming difficult to rouse, patient is in stupor, little or no urine output, and coughing up of blood. How to transfer the patient to hospital? Check the person's wishes regarding the transfer. You must always check the family and the person's wishes regarding transfer. Clarify their SARS-CoV-2 status, that is COVID-19 status. If the person wishes to stay in home isolation, discuss care arrangements with family. Inform the caregiver the infection risk at home and public health directives regarding home isolation. If the person wishes to be admitted to hospital, advise the caregiver or family to call an ambulance and to notify the CMO office that the person has suspected or confirmed COVID-19. Therein, your job is done. Release from isolation. What is the criteria to release the person from isolation? Refer to the relevant state and territory public health service advice. My advice would be that you must release the patient after checking his fever on day 50. If the fever is normal, patient is asymptomatic, his IL-6, CRP, CBC, ESR, everything is normal. His COVID-19 antibody IgG, IgM are normal, especially IgM is normal and IgG is raised, which means he is now immune to COVID-19. Then the patient is fit to be released from isolation. Now coming to management of adults with moderate to severe COVID-19. Now setting of care of such patients. Manage people with moderate COVID-19 in hospital when possible. Manage people with severe COVID-19 in hospital with ICU and not simple hospital. Consider admission of people with likely or confirmed COVID-19 if they are hemodynamically unstable, hypoxemic, which means SpO2 on room air is less than 92%, and people who have comorbidity. Now, definition of disease severity: moderate illness, stable, but patient presenting with respiratory or systemic symptoms or signs, able to maintain oxygen saturation about 92% or above 90% in patients with chronic lung disease. While in severe illness, respiratory rate is more than 30 breaths per minute, oxygen saturation is less than 92% at rest, and a ratio of oxygen saturation and inspired oxygen fraction, that is SpO2 is to FiO2, is less than 300. This is severe illness. Now, baseline testing is that all people with severe or moderate illness must have hematology test done, biochemistry test done, chest X-ray done, ECG on admission done, and if possible, a CT scan done, HRCT of the lung done. Investigate people with suspected or confirmed COVID-19 for influenza, community-acquired pneumonia, and other differential diagnosis as per usual practice. In cases where a strong clinical suspicion of COVID-19 remains after the negative RT-PCR, continue isolation and treatment as for a provincial COVID-19 diagnosis. Repeat RT-PCR as soon as possible, adding a stool PCR if loose stool is happening. If CRP, IL-6 and D-dimer PCT are positive, then continue treating the patient on the line of being COVID-19 positive. Monitoring and marker of clinical deterioration. As I've already told you, for people with COVID-19, monitor markers of clinical progression such as rapidly progressive respiratory failure and sepsis, especially on day 5 to day 10 after onset of symptom are very important. In all people with suspected or confirmed COVID-19, perform ECG and hematology and biochemistry lab tests as clinical indication to monitor for complications such as acute liver injury, acute kidney injury, acute cardiac injury, or shock. Do not routinely perform CT scanning in people with suspected or confirmed COVID-19, but chest X-ray is mandatory. Now, supportive care in hospital. In all people with suspected or confirmed COVID-19, anticipate complications such as arrhythmia, cardiac problems, sepsis, and multi-organ failure. Homeopathy as supportive care in ICU must be used if allowed. For pneumonia management, homeopathy should be used as per Borland's protocol. Now, what is Borland protocol? We are going to talk in our next webinar. Fluid management should be done. Respiratory support must be given. Escalation of care. For if the patient still deteriorates, then escalation of care must be done to the level of severe to critical COVID-19 care, which we are going to talk next. Now, management of adults with severe to critical COVID-19. Here you must use low molecular weight heparin, use BiPAP or ventilator as per need. Patient is in shock, one must manage shock. Now, the definition of disease severity. Severe illness. Adult patient meeting any of the following criteria: respiratory rate more than 30 breaths per minute, SpO2 less than 92%, oxygen saturation and inspired oxygen fraction less than or equal to 300. While in critical patients, this SpO2 FiO2 ratio is less than 200, or the patient is in acute respiratory distress syndrome. This includes patients deteriorating despite advanced form of respiratory support, or patients requiring mechanical ventilation, or other signs of significant deterioration like hypotension or shock, impairment of consciousness, or multisystemic organ failure. These are critical patients. Now, what is the management that we can do? As homeopaths, for pneumonia, we can help greatly with Borland pneumonia protocol. For shock, we can help with Nigam's shock protocol. We are going to talk about Nigam shock protocol again in the next webinar. I would advise homeopathy as a supportive medicine in the ICU. I have been doing that in Kanpur. It has been of immense value. Certain ICU friends of mine have called me up and they have been pleasantly surprised with the value of homeopathy in ICU setting. It can be of immense value in modifying the end result of complicated pneumonias, SARI, acute ARDS, shock, impending or drug-resistant septicemia, ARS, stupor, and coma. For shock, there are certain other things that are required. Although this is the allopathic part, so I'm not going to go into the details of this. But you need to require resuscitation with fluids, and you would have to use vasoactive agent. That is why ICU setting is very, very important. Now, discharge planning. Suppose most of the patient, about the death rate in ICU with COVID is very high. It's about 75%. So, luckily, if the patient survives, in patients with severe COVID-19, after offer appropriate rehabilitation to optimize recovery, including early hospital rehabilitation, planned transition of care to the community, including handover to the general practitioner. So this is protocol that we are going to publish also. This is going to be published in Vital and Forward. The part 1 of this protocol has already been published in the last issue of Vital and Forward. Then in this issue, the part 2 of this protocol is being published. In the next issue, the part 3 is going to be published. This would be Borland's protocol and shock protocol. So you would have the written protocol. By December end, BJAN would be publishing my book on management of COVID-19. It is very sad, and I am saddened that Government of India has taken a very negative stand on homeopathy, and we have been, been treated as जिसको कहते हैं सौतेला व्यवहार. We have not been treated well by Ministry of Ayush also. Health Minister has come up with a protocol for Ayurveda, but no protocol has come, nobody has come up with a protocol for homeopathy. So I have tried to fill up the gap with this hope that my protocol is going to help as a foundation stone for future protocols to come up. So I would call my protocol as version 1, so that future protocol may come up with your clinical experiences, so that we can modify these protocols for a higher level of, with a higher input of cases that you people do. Now, here are certain cases that I would love to show you. If you see that this is a case of a person whose name initially is AJ, age 55 years. Now he suffered from COVID. His whole family had COVID. He was diabetic and hypertensive. He, on the 3rd week, he got symptomatically better. On the 3rd week, he had a relapse and he had severe dyspnea. We got him his CT scan done, and we found GGOs here. You can see the GGOs here. These are the GGOs. Now, after treating him with layered technique, layered approach, you can see the resolution of GGO. And if you check on the reports, then you would see that there is a significant improvement. 28/9/2020, we did the first CT scan, and his CT score was 16 out of 40 severity score, which was not much. 18 out of 40 requires ICU admission. 16 out of 40, he was on the borderline, but he decided to stick with me, and he was handsomely rewarded with homeopathy. 28/9/2020 and 12/10/2020. And by 12/10/2020, there was significant improvement, and the patches nearly got resolved. So you see, that is the power of homeopathy, how it works, and it works on record. Then similarly, next case. Now this is Mr. R.M. Singh, age 50 years, again a diabetic and a hypertensive along with COVID-19. He was diagnosed with COVID pneumonia by some other physician. Then he came to me, somebody sent him to me, and you would see that on 11/9/20, his COVID CORAD score was 3 to 4, which is, which means that he had ground glass opacities and a fixed pneumonia. And 39/20, so about 20 days, in 20 days, the pneumonia resolved, and he had no pneumonia in 20 days. He became from CORAD 3-4 to CORAD 0. There was no pneumonia. So again, if you can resolve fixed pneumonia in 20 days with only homeopathy and no antibiotics, what more do you want, and how fast you want homeopathy to work? This is the fastest that any medicine can work. Now this is a lady, this is a recent case, November only, of the second wave of corona. Now this is a lady aged 44. She is having type 2 diabetes, hypertension and hypothyroid. Her interleukin 6 was 56. So she was leading towards cytokine storm. She was RT-PCR positive on 6/11/20. And she was moving towards cytokine storm. The whole family was worried. They wanted her to take to the hospital, but the first case that I showed you, Mr. AJ, they had recommended her to me, and they had told her not to go anywhere but to me, and do not go to the hospital. Now, if you see in this CT scan, you can see this is a GGO, ground glass opacity. This is peripheral ground glass. This is diagnostic of corona pneumonia. Now, CT severity score, just because we got the CT done early, the CT score was 10 out of 40. So anyways, she did not require hospitalization immediately. We started with our layered prescribing in this lady. We initially gave her single medicine, and that was, if I'm not wrong, arsenic album. And she was put on arsenic album only. But as soon as we got this GGO, we switched her over to arsenic album along with 2 mother tinctures to be taken, Senega and Lobelia, 4-hourly. And the result, she became on the 13th, she became PCR negative. Patient is asymptomatic. Says a big thank you. We have yet not done her CT done. I am going to get her IL-6 done first. Once her IL-6 becomes negative, then I'm going to get her CT done to see what has happened to her GGO. GGOs, as you know, they last for a longest time. So we'll see when her GGOs resolve. But we started her treatment on what? 6 on 3rd we started her treatment, and on 13th, in 10 days, her RT-PCR got negative. What more do you want? How fast do you want homeopathy should work? Who says homeopathy does not work in COVID-19? Who says homeopathy is placebo? Homeopathy works. We have it on record. The government of India and Supreme Court do not believe us. We have to make them believe. Thank you. Dr. Ria,
Yes, sir.
ma'am,
Thank you so much.
uh,
Yes, sir. Shall I stop this slide
yes,
presentation?
ma'am. Questions, please.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Thank you so much for such an informative session. Learned a lot from you today. So quickly, everyone send us your questions so that we can take up some. We have already run out of time, but we will take questions. And okay. So we already have a few questions in the chat box. I'll take them up first. Okay, so a learner wants to know, can you please explain post-COVID complications too, in brief?
Yeah. So post-COVID complications that come up are mostly profound weakness and myalgia and shortness of
Okay.
breath, and sometimes sleeplessness or excessive sleepiness. Now, the idea is very simple. You are to repertorize the case. There is no single remedy. You are to repertorize the case. Once you have repertorized the case, one rubric that I would suggest you must always take in such a case is ailments uh, after convalescence. You would find that
Okay.
rubric in journals, and that you must take. There is a sub rubric in ailments after convalescence, that is ailments after convalescence, influenza after. So
Okay.
you can take that also. One small remedy which is very, very important is Scutleria. If you have uh, body ache, I can only tell you, I am just guiding you to certain small remedies that you might not have read before. In this perspective, mostly people read Scutleria for sleeplessness, but Scutleria is a very good remedy for in low potencies, in 2x or 3x potency, even in mother tincture, for
Okay.
upping up the system after influenza. It calms down the anxiety, it calms down the nerves, it gives you good sleep, and it is of nutritive value. There is another remedy which is very important for aches and body aches and myalgia that remains after the influenza, that is called as sarcolactic acid. So if you have not read sarcolactic acid, please do read sarcolactic acid. It's a small but wonderful remedy, especially for
Okay.
chronic fatigue syndrome or fibromyalgia after the influenza. Any
Okay.
kind of influenza. COVID is an influenza also.
Hmm.
So that is important. Then, but the process of homeopathy is always simple. Once the storm has passed away, during the storm, you use asphoric, small remedies, means acute remedies. Once the storm has passed away, then you re-repertorize the case, see what are the symptoms that are left, find the so-called totality-based constitutional remedy, prescribe that
Hmm.
remedy, and the patient is going to be all right. And if the patient
Hmm.
is not getting all right, then there must be some block to cure. Then you must look out for that block to cure. Mostly it is a miasma. Then you give a anti-miasmatic remedy, which may or may not be a nosode. And
Hmm.
if you choose to give a nosode, then you give influenzainum first.
Okay.
But influenzainum as a prophylactic for influenza is not a right choice. I would never advise. As a
Hmm.
prophylactic for any epidemic is a genus epidemicus, and that you would have to find out. How to
Okay.
select a genus epidemicus is given in from aphorism 100 to I think 104 in the Organon by Hahnemann, and it has been detailed by Kent.
Okay.
So, and in my book, I would be giving it to you. So you can read that, and you can anybody can select. Do not be influenced by the great names of the age.
Hmm.
They may tell you many things, but they may be prejudiced. For
Okay.
example, camphor. You see, a great name gave you camphor, and camphor proved to be wrong.
Hmm.
I when I first got to know about camphor as prophylactic for COVID, and it had come from a great man's mind. So I thought, why I had to search from where it came from. So I scanned the Materia Medica and books. I could find only one reference of camphor you being written as a prophylactic influenza, and that is in Otto von Lesser's Materia Medica. That camphor can be used as a prophylactic for influenza, but only in mother tincture. That means camphor, camphor balls,
Hmm. 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 Hmm.
not
Yes,
to be
sir.
used in potency.
Hmm.
You see, so
Hmm.
great minds can, in their wisdom, can tell you something, but you
Hmm.
have a great mind too, and apply your reason gifted mind, apply the process of homeopathy,
Hmm.
and be your own animal. Select your own genus epidemic.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. So, a learner wants, okay, the similar question that you have already answered. A learner wanted to know the role of influenzainum 200 in COVID. So, I guess you have
I told
already,
you so,
yes,
that
so,
don't be fooled by the name of
hmm,
influenzainum.
hmm,
Influenzainum for influenza. Don't be fooled by
yes,
it.
sir, yes, sir.
Similarly, people use malaria off for malaria. Do you
Hmm,
know how malaria, what is the source material for malaria off?
I, uh, I guess the bacteria of it, no? No, I don't know the source,
The
sir.
source material from which malaria off is made is sewage water.
Oh, oh, okay. We didn't
So,
know that. Hmm.
so influenza, the source material for influenza is droplets of influenza. Now,
Huh.
influenza virus has, you have so many influenza viruses.
Hmm.
So how
That
can, I
there are
mean,
many.
this is not valid.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
influenzainum for as a block to, if influenza is a block to cure, then influenzainum works wonderfully.
Okay.
Yes, it does,
Hmm.
but not as a prophylactic.
Hmm.
Somebody has asked me in private about Drosera being
Yes, sir.
used in
Can
COVID
Drosera be
19.
used? Hmm.
Uh, if the similia is, yes, why not? If the similia is present, then Drosera for cough can be used in COVID 19. And Drosera
Hmm.
otherwise also has a tubercular, I mean, Drosera patient has a tubercular background. So Drosera can be used. There are two important nosodes that are found very effective in moderate to severe COVID cases, and they are once pneumonia is has started to develop, then AVR, tuberculinum aviare, is a very important medicine. And
Okay.
once pneumonia is fixed now, and you want to rapidly resolve it, then the nosode that works very well is hyposenia.
Okay.
So you can go and study your boric and or other materia medica, and you would find them to be very, very useful. I would say study Clark and boric. Clark is a wonderful materia medica to study the clinical aspect of any medicine.
Hmm. Yes, sir.
Any more questions?
Thank. Yes, sir. I'm just looking for more questions. I think we have covered almost all of them. Okay. Learner wanted you to share the slides of the screening criteria. So don't worry, you'll receive a replay link for this webinar. So you can always go back to it and find it yourself. Everything that Dr. Harshnigam has taught us today, you can go through it again. And if you have, missed something as well. So, any more questions, anyone? Please send us like right now, or we will end this session and continue this learning process in the next session with homeopathic management, as Dr. Harshnigam has told us. Okay.
Yeah,
So
somebody
I
has
guess.
asked about antibody tests have different numbers. What does it mean when it's low number versus 4?
Okay.
If in antibody test you have low number, that means you have a low titer or titer,
Hmm.
people say.
Hmm.
So if you have a low titer or titer, which means your immunity against coronavirus is low still. But if you have zero, which means you are not yet immune to coronavirus, you are at a risk of infection. Like I have a titer of about 5. I have a healthy titer. Although I was taking homeopathic medicines as a prophylactic, so I never developed any symptom. I only had a symptom of anosmia for 1 day, no fever, no cough, nothing. And
Hmm.
I was taking phosphorus 12. So I had nothing else. But I developed good amount of antibodies, so I am immune now. My wife was taking phosphorus, is still taking phosphorus 12. She sits with me, but she does not have any antibody. So she has antibody score of 0. So she is at a risk of having corona infection.
Okay.
Now we do not know for how many days this antibody lasts.
Hmm.
People say that this lasts for 3 months. Recent studies say that this may be antibody may last for lifetime. We do not know. We know for
Hmm.
dengue. For dengue, it lasts for about 2 years. So we do not know about corona itself now. But if you have a
Okay.
high titer of antibodies, it means that you have a better uh, immunity against corona infection. If you have a low number, then you have a weaker immunity against corona infection.
Yes, sir. A learner has asked that what is the important diet to improve our immunity to prevent the infection? Well, I guess a healthy,
There is
balanced diet
nothing
and
to,
preventive.
you see, immunity you don't understand. There
Hmm.
are two types of immunity: innate immunity
Hmm.
and acquired
Acquired.
immunity. Now, innate immunity is something that you have. Your
Hmm.
innate immunity is your skin, the barriers that you have, your
Hmm.
nasal
Hmm.
hairs,
Mucosa.
your
Hmm.
nasal mucosa. So they can be improved by anything which is healthy, healthy eating and
Hmm.
etc. etc. But your immunoglobulins, they are they are not affected by your diet. They are
Hmm.
not affected by Chyawanprash, etc. It is all hogwash. You see,
Hmm.
they they are only affected when you get to have an immune challenge. And that
Hmm.
immune challenge, when you have a fresh, protein enter into
Asian.
your
Yeah.
bloodstream,
Hmm.
then you have an immune challenge. So
Hmm.
that challenge, when you get, then your immune system responds to it. That is called
Hmm.
as acquired immunity.
Acquired.
So your acquired immunity is going to behave depending upon the genes that you have and
Hmm.
the vitality that you have. Now your vitality is dependent upon your genes and your constitution. So
Hmm.
genes is something that is given to you by your parents. Constitution
Hmm.
that is something that is given to you by God Almighty. And constitution, as you know, is of three types. This is
Hmm.
phosphoric, carbonic, and fluoric. Now this is physical constitution. So there is a combination of things. But diet per se has no role on immune system. Many people who are very poor have hemoglobin, which is about say 12 to 13% because they have sattu and they have kacha pyaz and roti only,
Hmm.
especially
Hmm.
people living in Bihar. And many people who are very rich, they are pale, white, they are
Hmm.
hypothyroid,
Hmm.
and they
Hmm.
have anemia, classic case of ferrum metallicum,
Hmm.
and they are rich people. They eat
Okay.
plenty of things, but that doesn't get into their system. So they have good diet, but they have poor system.
Hmm.
So diet per se is not important. Your system is more important,
Yes, sir.
and that can be improved by healthy lifestyle and good amount of exercise and yoga, etc.
Hmm. Yes, sir. So another question, sir. We all are acquiring what is called as herd immunity. So a learner wants your
Yeah,
comments on
many
this.
people are thinking of some kind of miracle vaccine is going to come and cure them. I am predicting to you right now that no
Hmm.
miracle vaccine is going to
Hmm.
come, and vaccines that are be prepared for another bout of vaccinosis in the world.
Yes,
As
sir.
homeopaths, we are going to be, we
Hmm.
should now prepare ourselves for another bout of vaccinosis on humanity. And
Hmm.
this is thanks to corona. This would be the late effect of corona and corona vaccination, because
Yes,
corona
sir.
changes so rapidly in its strain that vaccines are going to be ineffective. Corona is
Hmm.
only going to go, it's not going to go actually, it's going to stay. We are going to adapt ourselves. Our immunity is
Hmm.
going to, immune system is going to adapt ourselves, and we, all are going to develop kind of herd immunity, and corona would
Hmm.
become like any other common influenza, like SARS has become now common. So we are not
Yes, sir.
bothered about SARS now. It
Hmm.
was like, bird flu, avian flu was so dangerous a few years before. It is not dangerous
Hmm.
anymore now. We don't think about it now
Hmm.
because our immune system has now adapted.
Yes,
Similarly,
sir.
we are going to adapt to corona after loss
Hmm.
of many, many lives, but we are going to adapt to it. That is the
Yes,
way to
sir.
go about it.
Definitely. Hmm.
By the time vaccines come to the
Hmm.
general public, corona, we as the
Hmm.
humanity is going to adapt to it.
Hmm. Right. So I guess another question, I guess let's take it as the last question for today. So how can we get COVID-19 no sort? A learner wants to know.
You
Can
can get
we, I guess,
if you want to.
we can prepare it.
Yeah, you can prepare it. I
But
have
again,
prepared it, but I'm not using it because common
okay.
homeopathy is working so well. Why should I use it? Normal
Mm-hmm.
homeopathy is working very well. Out of my 156 patients, none has died,
Mm-hmm.
none has
Mm-hmm.
been admitted to ICU. So for
Mm-hmm.
me, homeopathy has been a success story in COVID-19. I am very, very
Yes, sir.
happy.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. I hope there are no more questions. I guess we have taken up all the questions now. Let's keep the rest of the questions, if there are, for the next session on this topic. So, thank you so much, sir. Also, to inform our learners, as you can see, we can learn a lot of modern practical homeopathy from Dr. Harshnigam. So, don't miss out on learning from him even more. So enroll in his course, combined course, or the courses separately on Modus Foundation and Modus Prescriber on the Homeopathic Academy. You can visit our website to enroll in the course. And for just the enrollees, the attendees of today's webinar, you have a special offer of 40% off. You can use the code LFH40 on the checkout page. This offer is only for today and tomorrow. So also, okay, so Alarna wants to know when will be your next webinar. So we'll inform you. You can follow us on our social media handles or subscribe to our newsletter from the website itself, and you will be informed about all his webinars and more, and the updates on the courses as well. So that's it for today, I guess, sir. Let's wind up here. Thank you so much. Please say
Thank
a
you
few
very
words
much.
if you want to our dear learners.
Yeah, all the learners, I would say just record all your cases. Be very confident with homeopathy and COVID. Do it, whatever the challenge might be, but be very practical also. Don't take up cases which are serious. Refer them to the hospital. Do not, tie up yourself up in the legal issues,
Hmm.
and do wonders with homeopathy. You are made to do it. Follow the strategy properly. Follow the homeopathic process properly. Don't look out for formulas. There are no formulas in homeopathy. There are only pathways, and follow the protocols. And you'll do good in homeopathy. All the best to all
Thank
of
you
you.
so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for inspiring us, guiding us all the way. And in this tough situation where we all need to learn how to manage, you're helping us. Thank you so much. And
pleasure.
let's wind up here. Thank you for being here, waiting for your next session. I guess everyone will be waiting. Thank you, everyone. We will be back with another session the next week. You can join us for our upcoming free webinar by Dr. Frederick Schroyens on synthesis repository and digital homeopathic practice, scheduled for 27th of November at 7:30 p.m. So I'm providing you the link to register for it. You can use that link and register yourself for it right away. So thank you everyone for joining us here. Thank you, Team THA. Thank you, Bijan RX. Have a great day, everyone. Keep learning, keep improving. See you.